Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Saurav here from NASCOM SME team. Glad to have you all. We will just wait for a couple of minutes before we start the sessions so that all the attendees could join in. Please stay tuned. We will start in a while. Hello again. A warm welcome to the fifth edition of NASCOM SME Centrestage series talk. This program aims to bring on stage the successful founders, CEOs, and tech entrepreneurs, highlighting their success and share their success recipes with the SME community. This provides an exclusive opportunity to all the SME members of NASCOM to interact and learn from those champions of the industry, so that they can augment their business plans and drive growth for their businesses. Today's topic is from small to big. In this session, we are going to learn about various intricacies one organization can come across while growing or moving to the next orbit, and what could be the possible solutions to tackle them. So without delaying further, let me introduce the host of the session. She is Anuradha Viswas, founder, CEO of Parijat Solutions, a company she founded in 2009, and Parijat and based out of Bangalore. Parijat specializes in product engineering, application modernization, and testing services. She is also an esteemed member of NASCOM SME Council, representing Karnataka region. It is indeed a pleasure to have you with us today, Anu. And over to you. We can begin the session with your welcome note. Yeah, over to you.
Thanks, Saurav. I'm almost NASCOM family now. You must probably quickly hire me into NASCOM now. I'm doing so many sessions. And today, I'm really, I would say, blessed to have this opportunity to introduce Parijat to all of you. You guys all know, you already have his illustrious profile. IIT itself is a big thing, 2% of the top brains in India. And then it goes through a brain drain. He goes away to the US and did these jet-setting roles as a corporate senior leadership role. And then he gets this calling, not just to come back to India, but to a small city like Jaipur. And in 2002, when the software services itself is a new thing, as a country, we were going through the wave that globally we were establishing ourselves. And immense amount of self-belief, Parijat, for you and Keshav and all the leaders who came together. A huge round of applause. It's a pity that the audience is not in front of us, but yeah, on behalf of all of them, I would say it's an amazing story and an inspiring one. No e-commerce, barely there internet. That was your journey, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just a question. How did you make that shift, corporate to entrepreneurship? What kind of drove you? The cushion gone, no salary, right? And change of karma bhumi. Yeah.
So I need to go a bit more back into the history. if you may allow me. And so, Anu, I grew up in 1980s India. So, those were the days when a lot of us were from middle class families. For us, Maggie noodles once in a month would be a treat, right? So, I did my computer science from IIT Delhi. Unlike my colleagues who pursued masters or MBAs, I thought, let me take up a job. So I took up a job and started working. And then, but in a couple of years, I started feeling that, let me do an MBA, right? That's when I realized that if you have to do an MBA degree, this is back in 96, you had to actually shell out a lot of money, and that kind of money was unavailable. That is what led me to go to US, right? And by the way, I'm telling this so that you can relate why I came back, okay? So once I went to US, I ended up in consulting. So I was working for a company called Cambridge Technology Partners. Like you rightly said, I was on the plane 5 days a week, living in the downtowns of New York or Chicago, and working tete-a-tete with
Can I drag you a little bit, Parijat? I'm
Sure,
sure
sure.
there's a huge chip on your shoulder in Manhattan.
Absolutely. I loved it. I loved it and had enjoyed it. But, at the same time, come 2000, when everybody was creating .coms, I was bitten with this bug, I have to do something. I have to do something. But then, I did, by the way, I have always been in my life open to advice of people. I always believe that you alone are insufficient, and you should always welcome advice and counsel from people around you. So, one of my mentors, he suggested that, Parijat, it seems to me that this is back in 2000, that, you understand America very well, right? And you've worked here on Wall Street and whatnot. And by the way, it seems to me that you understand India also very well. So why don't you, this whole offshoring is starting, why don't you figure out something in this area? I took his advice, and that was that. I made the plunge and said, let me go back to India. And after that, it's a journey. It's a, I took everybody with me on a roller coaster ride. So, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
I can imagine the roller coaster ride. Okay. The first thing, I'm sure you've heard the word work spouses. Who's the husband and who's the wife? And how did your real wives take it?
So, like I said, came back to India, and so then I also decided, let me go to Jaipur, because Jaipur is where my home was, and a lot of my colleagues who were from engineering colleges, all of them went out of Jaipur. Nobody was in Jaipur, right? There was no jobs, and there were no IT jobs as such in Jaipur, and I came to Jaipur, met my partner Keshav, who's again from IIT Kanpur, 11 years my elder. He's my senior partner. So he and I, started working together. And so he, like you talk about work spouse, right? And you talk about family. So without my wife's support, I could not have moved back to India. Right?
Absolutely, because they can just bind you down with emotionally, right?
Yeah. So without her support, I could never have moved back. My family also supported me. My wife also supported me, and I am very lucky that Keshav and I gelled very well. And by the way, you mentioned partners, right? I think every entrepreneur needs to choose a partner. Usually, we choose a partner who is complementary in our skill sets. But choosing is only the beginning. Staying together and making the journey together without bickering, and becoming happier and becoming better over the years is the key. So
good times and bad times, right? In good times and bad times.
Good times and bad times. So if you may remember, that was the time when a phone call would be 60 rupees a minute. I'm talking about 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
Right. Yahoo Messenger was out there, right? So, and I was, while my partner was focusing on recruiting and training the teams, I was focusing more on sales. And I would be pounding the pavements in New York and surrounding areas, New Haven, going to the larger companies and realizing that they would just shoo us away, right? That please come back to us when you are bigger. And because I was carrying a large chip on my
That is
shoulder,
so humiliating. So did it remove a layer of chip from your shoulder?
huge chip on my shoulder, because you when you're working in a large company, you think that you are making the company move. You don't realize that there are so many systems which are working, supporting you, right? And when you are out of it, you suddenly realize, oh my goodness, I'm on my own and I have to now build everything on my own. So 2003 was a very difficult year. We could not, we were just spending money and not getting any of these large clients. See, that's when Keshav and we sat down, we thought it a bit more deeper, and somehow, I don't know, probably by serendipity, by, elders' blessings or whatever, we realized that, let's approach software product companies. Now, suddenly you're talking about a niche which is not being addressed by the large IT giants of India, because they were focused more on $1 million, $10 million deals at that time, whereas these companies were much smaller. They had requirement for much smaller teams. And these were typically founded by
I want to take a pause here because I want to dwell a little bit deeper on that. I'm going to pause. So here, you have this beautiful name, Parijat, which is a small flower which spreads fragrance to the entire world. And you guys set out to achieve that from a small city like Jaipur for a global customer base, right?
That's correct. That's
Two things here. Yes. Customers, how did you get there? That's a good one. We're going to dwell a little bit more deeper on that. But before that, didn't anybody ask you, aren't there camels in Jaipur? Do you go to office in Camel? I got asked 5 years ago, being in Bangalore.
That was the first question everywhere. So, Parijat, we have heard that, people move to Bangalore, they move to Mumbai, you should have moved to Noida or, whatever, Gurgaon. Gurgaon was also up and coming at that time. How come you moved back to Jaipur? How can you make such a foolish decision? So I was questioned, Keshav and we were questioned at every step, but then, we had roots there. When you have to somehow make it work, right? And when you have that in front of you and you realize that you're building up something from scratch, from the foundational level, you have to be at it. If you are at it, it will show results in time, in due course, right? So going back to the customer journey. So Keshav and
the first
came up with first customer. So we came up with this idea, let's approach the startups. And we started approaching startups, which were typically founded by IITians or people from our network in the Bay Area. Now, that worked out very well. We actually landed our first customer, one of the first customers, a company called Valdero, which was funded by Kleiner Perkins, which is a blue-blooded VC fund, and they were into support. And at that time, they were using the latest pattern-based design, test-driven development, and we learned it from them. We started repeating that in the Valley, and we landed our first $1 million customer in 2005. And in Valley, we within a niche, within basically a closed group, we developed a reputation for Metacube and ourselves that these are the guys who are trustworthy. There is pretty much no attrition with their company, and if you start a product with them, they are invested into us. They're not trying to sell us at every step. They are building the things which we are asking them to build. And some of the entrepreneurs which we were working with had successful exits. So they came back to us with their next startups, right? So that is how our journey began.
Can I interrupt, or do you want to?
No, interrupt, please.
So if I look at your 18-year-old journey, your first phase was helping tech startups with their dream, which is purely innovation. And then you move on to the mid segment, which is about reliable solutions done consistently. Then you have sort of exploded in the Fortune 500 world, which is about dealing with challenging, complex solutions. So small is beautiful, somebody said in one of the seminars, but big is necessary. You've gone through the whole journey. So do you want to take us through some of these, how it happened? I'm
So,
sure many of our entrepreneurs would love to see
no,
how
no,
you do
absolutely.
that.
So, firstly, one message which I want to give to everybody is, see, nothing is very small. Okay, the smallest of acorns or seeds turn into mightiest of the trees. So, by serendipity, 2007, one of our, again, serial entrepreneur customers approached us saying that, oh, by the way, we are starting this cloud computing company. And oh, by the way, Salesforce has come out with this language in which, you can configure it and so on and so forth. And are you interested in, basically helping us build something? And we said yes. Keshav and I said yes. And we started working on it. That company went on to become Appirio, which was acquired by Wipro for about $500 million, right? So, it grew,
And
right? With that,
when was this, Parijat?
so they came to us in 2007. That's when we introduced Salesforce to the Jaipur market. And Appirio was acquired, I think, in 2015 or so. So they were with us for a few years initially, right? And but at any rate, as a result of that, two things happened for us. One is we had the product DNA, which we had. And secondly, we had now the Salesforce knowledge, which was growing. Platform as a service had become big at that time, right? And so people were looking at building their own products. Innovation had just boomed. This is back in 2010, 11, 12 timeframes when innovation had just boomed and people were wanting to take some use cases, build them out on a PaaS platform, and then launch it to the world. And Salesforce, because of the fact we had the DNA of product development and because we had the language knowledge, we were able to make offers to prospective entrepreneurs, or if you say innovators, if you may, who were looking to build, let's say, use cases for financial industry, use cases for education industry, use cases for whichever industry this platform was expanding into. And we were very successful. So some of these products actually became, they are huge companies now, from $1 million in revenue, there are 200 million. Yeah. So that was our path. And then those products started selling into very large Fortune 500 companies. Now, as a result of that, they said, you know what, let's get instead of, getting the SIs who probably know these products and who have been trained in them, let's go to the origin. Let's go to the people who are building it, right? So who is building it? Metacube is building it. So that's how we got into very, very large customers, Fortune 500 companies. There we said, okay, we are very different than your SIs and we are experts in it, in what we are doing. So that's the journey.
Brilliant. So some of us, see, I'm somewhere in the mid path in that journey, right? See, when we are an IT services company, everything seems attractive. We do have good leadership, like all of us we would have invested in good leadership. And then you want to do so many things. But funneling down to that, what is best for us is also another challenge, right? How did you guys do?
So see, when I talked to you, Anu, when I looked at your profile, I saw diversity there. I saw ADA there, right? I saw how you are working in a very, so if you are an entrepreneur with a startup, even if you are providing services, you have to be in a niche. You have to specialize. If you are too generic, and it cannot be a low price game, because with low price you don't end up anywhere, right? You have to be very specific. We had a very well defined story which kept on evolving over the years, right? Doesn't mean we lost our original DNA, right? We are still a company. We are still a learning organization. We are still an organization which, if you come to our campuses, you can see people playing cricket, people playing badminton, TT, and whatnot. And we have a crèche since 2013. 38% of my staff is women.
That's huge. I really wish we had all the audience sitting in front of us. For many women, that's a huge thing. And sitting in Jaipur, you have about 500 women, and you're very sensitive to the fact that is not the only diversity story. We'll dwell on that a little deeper so that it gets due. But before I want to dwell deeper, so I'm going to cut you off. Sorry about that. But just to conclude on that, so you did mention how you went to the Fortune 500.
Fortune 500.
I want to spend a little more time on that.
Sure.
So when you are innovating, you're more nimble. you're agile, right?
Mhm.
And then also,
Yes.
it's a humbling exercise to sort of go through that small little changes in your life. How did you make that
So I'll tell you.
transition?
So first and foremost, many of us, the way we tend to work is, whatever is working for us, whatever our, obviousness or background of obviousness is, we don't tend to grow out of it. Okay. So what you have to realize that, we have this cliches that whatever worked for you in past will not work for you in future. So for example, when you are climbing, I give this metaphor to everybody and anybody within my company when we speak,
Mhm.
is that, when you're climbing on a mountain, you're walking in a valley, you need a different sort of tools and practices when you're walking in the valley. When
True.
you're climbing a 30-degree slope, you need different tools. When you're climbing 90-degree slope and you're nearing the summit, you need different sort of tools and
Lovely.
practices.
Lovely.
Actually, you also need different Sherpas. Those Sherpas are your guides and those Sherpas are your mentors,
True.
right? So
Beautiful.
unless until you get those Sherpas and you seek help, because a lot of people think, oh, by the way, I am now running a successful company, so I don't need help, right? I'm good. You
Actually,
would
that's
never.
when you need. That's when you need the most.
That's when you need one. So
Yeah.
because the moment you start believing that you know everything, that's the beginning of your downfall.
True. True.
So
Absolutely.
so when you are engaging with larger companies,
Mhm.
you have to definitely now almost all the large companies, be it any of the Fortune 500 companies, they typically have innovation cells in them. They also realize that let's not build everything. Let's
Mhm.
buy products off the shelf. Let's customize them, right? They are also looking at TCOs, total cost of ownerships, and of course you need to have different tools and techniques and practices to engage with those large customers, which are very different when you're engaging with the smaller customers. So those things will come to you in due course. And those things have to be deliberately developed, actually.
I
And
want
that's
to
what
put
we have
you on a
understood.
spot deliberately. Tell me some of your blunders.
It'll be a long list. The whole, I think
I'm
60
sure
minutes will be
all
too
of us
less.
will.
Huh?
The foolish things you did is what we want to know.
60 minutes, see,
The list is
blunders.
longer.
Huh?
The
So
list of blunders is longer.
yeah, the list of blunders is, so for example, I'll tell you. So again, what I'm telling you in hindsight, okay, you need to be humble, you need to seek advice, you need Sherpas and all that. That has all come through learning, through how do you gain experience? You walk, you fall, you hurt your leg, and then you put a band-aid on it. So this is, I was not like this always. I was a different person. I would, for example, may not take advice. I would, for example, for other thing which evolved, I think the biggest, if I look at the blunders which we have done, I mean, I would have wanted to expand more into the foreign markets a bit sooner with my presence there. That
Mm.
we didn't do. That
Ah,
could have taken our company to a next scale, right?
oh.
So we are right now also, we are about, we are close to 1,250 people.
Mm.
65% of our clientele are Fortune 500 companies. 35% are for product companies. But we could have been at the next level
Mm.
if, for example, but then again, why to waste time in shoulda, coulda, woulda? Let's focus on what is ahead of us and where we can take it now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's move forward. But I'm
absolutely.
sure all the entrepreneurs here or senior leaders listening to us are interested in those blunders or faux pas, because I'm sure all of us are telling ourselves, yeah, I did this. Yeah. So good to hear
So
that.
FOPA, the biggest FOPA, okay, and this is like the key. The biggest FOPA you can make in your life is follow everybody around you.
Good one. I love that. I love
Okay, so
that.
you've seen, for example, I take stock market metaphor.
Mhm.
Now in the stock market, let's say a stock is going up, right? So most of the people become interested in buying that stock when it is at a high price,
Right. Mm.
right? They don't buy it when at the beginning they're not willing to invest time, money, effort, or at the cost of something else into that, right? They only buy it now. That is when it starts falling, actually.
True,
So
true, true.
so I think that is the FOPA which I think people should avoid.
Good one. Good advice. So I want to, I wish we had a couple of hours, but I want to dwell deeper a little bit, because the moment you go from small to big, you are hugely dependent on talent, right?
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
want to spend some time on that. Again, I want to repeat that. A small flower with immense amount of fragrance spreading it to the world. That's what you guys have achieved between you, Keshav, and all the other leaders. How did you do that? Especially, I really want to know that evolution
No, no,
journey.
I'll tell you. So the credit to that, a lot of that credit goes to my partner Keshav. So my partner Keshav was into teaching actually. So he was teaching computer science.
Now I know.
Now, so he was teaching computer science, and we modeled our organization as a group of not managers and teams or whatever. We molded it as mentors and mentees, or teachers and students, if you may. One. So because IT at the end of the day is also called knowledge industry, right? So you have to constantly learn. So you are basically, what differentiates us from the market is that we are constantly learning. What is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. We are always forecasting the next thing, and we are learning along those lines, and we have very well defined courses for that. We have very well defined mentor-mentee structure for that, which is very mature, and that basically forms the strong backbone, strong skeleton of our company, how we are different than most of the market.
Sorry, some sub questions, like your leaves in a branch. So was it to your advantage that you chose Jaipur,
See,
or was it difficult?
so when you get lemons, make
Sorry,
lemonade out of it.
before you move to that, Jaipur is very culturally rich. A lot of ethos for learning, right? So
Yes.
wasn't that advantageous for you?
It was, but does it mean that we had computer science learning? Probably no. Right. So back in 2002-3, private colleges were just being set up. 2006 is when we got the first batch. The first batches were not the best. We had to put them through 6 months of classroom style trainings just to get them to the level where they could perform. So but let's say I think the key thing for the entrepreneurs is, if you get lemons, you make lemonade out of it. Right, you need to figure out how to work. So, but by the way, ethos has changed now. We have lovely colleges now. We have several established colleges now. But again, we are talking about journey, right? But even with these colleges here, you still have to groom your own talent, right? And as NASSCOM chair for Rajasthan, I also spoke to the Future Skills Council that can we do campus university industry connect, like you are running programs in the other states. We are hoping to run similar programs in Rajasthan as well, right? For exactly the same reason. But yes, talent you have to groom, and talent you have to, and most important, your leaders. How do you treat your leaders? So I would like to believe, I would like to profess that we have a collective leadership. We have a very transparent decision-making process, and I believe I used to read these stories of King Arthur and his knights when I was young, and King Arthur did not have a square table. He did not have an oval table. He had a round table. So you have to, basically, you need to value the opinions and give them due consideration for your leadership, and your partners also, right? And then you come to the right conclusion. But of course, once you have come to a conclusion, then you execute it. Then no bickering, no going back, no egos that, okay, my decision was not chosen or his decision was not chosen, right?
I want to spend a minute on diversity here, since it's really a huge thing. Being a woman, trust me, it's a big thing. And you already have a crush, and you kept saying that we have put a crush. That means you're demonstrating the sensitivity all of you brought in, right? I want to, yeah. And you were also talking about diversity is not just about women or people with disabilities. People from different social backgrounds, different language backgrounds. I'd like you to spend a few minutes on that.
No, so Rajasthan is a very poor state. And by the way, I have IT companies on this call, and they have to realize what a privilege we have to be in this field. Rajasthan is a very poor state, and people, we have a lot of schools near this industrial area where we are located. And there are a lot of kids there who go to government schools. Now, their parents could be laborers, or their parents could be rickshaw pullers or whatnot. But they don't know what does IT or computer science mean to them. That is the kind of background you have to imagine that we are coming from. So if we hired people from the colleges, of course, who had done their IT graduation, but they came from very different family backgrounds, very different social backgrounds. So you have to train them, groom them, and so on and so forth. What we are doing now is we have adopted these schools, a number of different schools, not all, a few schools around Sitapura, where our employees are going and teaching communication. We have developed our own pedagogy, of what to teach. We are teaching them basically communication, mathematics, and computing from class 5th onwards, right? So that they can learn. Okay, this is what this is. You're bridging the digital divide by doing that. One, second, you are actually creating a future. Who knows who can become an entrepreneur from that group? Who knows what kind of jobs they'll take up, and they're coming from very diverse social background. Many of them are in Hindi medium, right? A lot of our employees came from very diverse backgrounds. People are landlocked into their families or cultures, or various small towns that they come from, and overcoming that and evolving into a common culture. Like I said, a learning culture, if you may. Like I said, respecting the learning. So, for example, in our company, from top to bottom, everybody is technical. My partner himself, he designs things at this stage of his life. He loves to code. So, that is the culture we have built, and that is our common vision, common culture, if you may.
So you said sometime when you were talking to me, what did you say? Management by walk. You had some cute acronym.
I was mentioning that how I wanted to do MBA, but earlier in India they wanted me to mortgage my house back in '96. Later on, I got so busy with consulting, I did not have time for MBA. Finally, I decided, let's give up this dream. Let's do management by walking around. This is my MBA. And by the way, your life teaches you a lot. And I mean, the degrees also keep on changing, right? Your life teaches you a lot as long as you're willing to learn. If you're not willing to learn, nothing can teach you.
And I'm sure, again, since I'm a woman, I want to dwell on this a little bit. Sincere appreciation for you on behalf of all the women. And I'm sure a huge role was played by some of the early movers in your organization, the women, who would have talked about their issues, and you heard them out. That the listening mechanisms are in place very clearly.
No, absolutely. And both Keshav and I are fathers to daughters. And, that also played a role. My wife also played a role, and, and women in general. I mean, nothing against the men in my company. Women in general have been very well. They've been organizing their time very well, actually, right? Because they have to do they have to juggle so many balls. At times, I find that, they do very well, actually. They do very well.
Can I admit something? As I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about making the carrot halwa I talked about earlier, because there is a puja at home, and I promised my daughter I'm going to make it.
Sure.
That's our life.
We would love to eat it.
Yeah, I'll send it out to you. It's going to stay well, so I'll send it out. But since your listening mechanisms are really working fine, I have an appeal to make to you and Keshav and all the leaders. And since you appreciated our effort in the work we do with people with disabilities, this is the next wave I'd request you to take and bring in.
I'm already reaching out to you. We spoke about this yesterday. To all my customers, I'm going to take this offer, and we need your help there.
Thank you.
How to make. So now everything is becoming digital, right? Now in India, our building bylaws are still evolving. We don't have a ramp. We don't have accessible buildings. We don't have accessible bathrooms, right? At least let's make software accessible. Because this is otherwise going to create a lot of a bigger divide than what we have been in.
Absolutely. So our whole purpose was, we can't solve all the problems in the world. Software is our karma bhumi. If we can express our intent through that and bring together leaders who are well-meaning, we've achieved our purpose. And you are one. Thank
No,
you.
I know Prakat is a leader in it. So I definitely, I loved it. And, I look forward to talking to you
Thank
about
you. We are a speck in the ocean. I am honest about that.
that. All of us are. All of us are.
Thank you. Thank you. And talking about that, I love the word servant leadership you used. I want
Yes.
to dwell a little bit on
Sure.
your
Sure.
personal side. And I want, since there is paucity of time, I'll weave in several questions.
Sure.
I'm sure your IIT brain will catch it quickly. Okay. One is what role did spirituality play in your life? We spend a lot of time on that. If you look at this is a business cosmos, right? It's at the end of it a cosmos, and we are truly a speck in the universe. You guys have grown big. You need to let go and then make the shift, give space to other leaders, all those things. I'd like to hear your personal.
No, I think you brought up a subject which is very, very dear to my heart. Spirituality. First and foremost, when we are doing business or when we are entrepreneurs, a lot of times our hubris becomes very, very big. We don't realize that, oh, by the way, our life is short, right? And we are living on this one spot in this whole universe, which is called Earth, right? And we are but a mere speck in the whole ocean, right? So what do we do? So first put that in perspective and realize what your place is. The moment one. Second, you look at now, I'll, switch over to, because, again, different people can subscribe to different spiritualities, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Isha, Hare Krishna mission, whatever. So, but I do believe that, like, for example, you look at Bharat, the way he ruled the Ayodhya. So, if you consider yourself as an entrepreneur, as a servant, basically, of God, and if you think that you're the steward of the company that you're running, your way of working changes versus, let's say, your stand is, I'm the owner. Whatever I say is right.
Brilliant.
Your outlook towards world changes basis what bhav or, what bhavana you carry in your mind. Right. So that bhav has to be there, and it has to be, that will come from the spirituality, actually.
You told me many things, but this is one thing I'm taking away from this conversation. It will remain with me. You moved me with this.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Seriously, I'm going to be now. I won't be able to blabber like before. But
no, I want to say one more thing. Just that, we are coming very close to the end of the time. See, I think, so my partner and I, we have been able to build an ecosystem in Jaipur. Now, by the way, Jaipur is one of the largest destination of Salesforce companies in India. It is the biggest concentration of companies here. A lot of these companies have leaders from Metacube, right? Ex-Metacubians. And now I am at a very, and they do talk and they do emulate, and we also learn from them. So they, I'm at a different stage in my life. I'm 50 plus now. And my desire is that, I'm able to get more GCCs into Jaipur, right? So that, Jaipur over time, for example, Jaipur has this place called Hawa Mahal, right? Hawa Mahal can be loosely translated into, let me take the liberty, as castle in the cloud. I want Jaipur to become the cloud computing destination of India.
Lovely.
Okay.
I really wish we had an audience in front of us.
So yeah, I definitely, and I will work towards that in my role as the chair. And the other thing which I want to mention, since you've touched upon the leadership, see, we have been living, we used to talk in 2019 about the VUCA world. Okay. VUCA, for the benefit of everybody, it's volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. 2019, we were saying that we need to plan for these things and all that. Guess what happened? 2020, we were hit by Corona, lockdown. Okay. 2021, we were hit by Delta, which was a devastating wave. People lost livelihoods, people lost lives, we lost loved ones. And 2021 was also the year, just the last year, disruption of supply chain. Right, none of the supply chains were working, and we were having, what is called this supply chain whiplash, which is what IT industry also went through, right? Overhired, hired at different salaries, people having multiple offers, and so forth, right? Come 2022, we have this European war going on, right? Suddenly, the inflation went through the roof. And come 2023, we are now entering into a very different scenario. People are predicting a recession. People are predicting different things, right? So in this environment, having a calm head on your shoulders, having a spiritual compass to guide you, because you have to take decisions as an entrepreneur. You have to take a lot of decisions which will affect lives of people, which will affect society. For example, the hybrid workspace. Do you want people back in office 5 days? Do you want people back in office because they love the flexibility of being, outside office maybe a couple of times in a week, or you will be totally work from home? Some things are not working out, some things are, right? So this is where we are.
It's this eternal balance between your inner voice and the universal forces guiding
Universal voice, and then of course your business acumen as well. You have to balance out the needs of everybody around you. It cannot be just my way or highway.
Yeah, that letting go is the biggest thing, and for that, what you said, the speck in the ocean is the biggest realization.
That is the hardest. People. You remember we used to have all these movies about quests. Aladdin is searching for his chirag and all that. But remember, Lord of the Rings, which is a trilogy, and I assume that many people have watched Lord of the Rings. It's about giving away the ring, giving away the ring of power. So, basically giving away anything is the hardest actually.
So
quest is easy.
Since we are going deeper into spirituality and philosophy, give us one evolution of creation, maintaining and destruction life cycle of Metacube. What did you create with passion, maintained it well, destroyed it, and moved on to the next creation?
So technology by itself is going through that cycle almost all the time, right? So, by the virtue of being in it, we are always in that cycle. For example, we were working on the, visual basics of the world and ASP.NETs of the world, building data warehouses, if you may, back in 2004, which has now evolved into very, very different meanings. Now you have data lakes, for example. You have basically, all sorts of power tools or, BI tools running on top of those data lakes, doing analytics for you, right? So, but this is, you basically have those same people. So you basically de-skill them and reskill them over time so that, their knowledge goes up and up and up. Learning is the key. Learning is the key, which allows you to construct, maintain, destruct and reconstruct, if you may.
And
right?
you have
So that is the cycle.
You have Keshav there to keep your compass alive for learning, which is good.
Absolutely.
So just importance of personal brand for the company brand, if you could spend a few seconds on that.
See, I do believe very firmly and very strongly that companies are built around the philosophies of the founders, right? Those philosophies basically give you identity, and that identity gives you branding. Okay. So if your philosophy is right and it is codified, it should not be that, okay, I have a philosophy. It should be there, understood well, that then becomes your identity, your company's identity, and that creates a brand name for you or creates branding for you, right? So for example, Metacube is always, if you look at our reviews, it is always looked at as a company where, people in Rajasthan want to join for learning. It's considered to be one of the best companies to join in the early years of their career. I also say, people don't have to take a circuitous route like in mountains to climb to a height. They can, they can short circuit the time by joining Metacube.
I remember we don't discuss timesheets. We discuss
that is true.
Design.
That is the culture. That is the culture, because see, we don't dwell on, money is a byproduct of the hard work which you do. Money is not the primary motive, right? So if you do good design, if you do good development, money will follow, right? Why bother about that? It will follow. So I'm not saying don't watch dollar and cents, guys, but you have to still make it secondary in your consideration and make primary consideration what you've been hired for. Yeah.
Perfect. So you mentioned, I love the word you used, office wapsi. A couple of lines about your hybrid models. What are your challenges there?
No, so see, like I said, every company has been innovating, changing over time, over the last 2 years, right? Different companies are taking different stands around it, right? I personally believe, if you ask me, this will depend on case-to-case basis for the employees. Second, I do firmly believe what I've realized that, people when they're in their homes, what happens to us? We hear opinions which are similar to ours. We hear, we make friends who are similar to ours. So we are sort of in an echo chamber. We are only hearing our thoughts. Versus when you go to your work life, the term used is work life and personal life, right? When you go to your work life, suddenly your colleague is challenging you, your boss is challenging you, your subordinate, or your, whosoever is challenging you. And suddenly your mind opens up, right? So what do you need? You need people with open minds who can grow, right? You don't want people who are polarized. One. Second, I think the mentorship and menteeship suffers big time. No matter how much you can, people may say, we are able to produce on as an individual contributor away. Yes, they are. Nobody wants to take away their freedoms. Yes, people have become accustomed. We should respect that. They're spending time with their families too. But I personally profess that probably a hybrid model of some sort will be the right balance, not 5 days in the office, not 5 days in the home, somewhere in between.
Perfect. Thank you. And yeah, I want to ask so many questions, but I know Saurav will suddenly pop in and say, guys, you're done. So
Sure.
Some parting thoughts for the entrepreneurs here, something you want to really want us all to ponder about.
No, so I believe that all of us have been blessed with certain powers, right? Like you said, my name means a flower. Rose has a certain scent. A marigold has a certain color. So recognize your power, and use that power to affect the lives of people in a positive sense, affect the society around you, make India, NASSCOM uses this term decade, right? Let's develop talent in these smaller towns. Let's make this decade beautiful for India. Let towns like Jaipur become cloud computing capital, maybe some other town become the medical capital of India. So, work on that. That's what my message is.
In a way, what you're advising or calling out to all of us, the digital divide can be our opportunity. If we can solve those problems, that's an opportunity.
Yes. Take it as a challenge. Go back to the, be in the towns where you are or wherever you are. Of course, do have some spirituality, whatever, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Isa, Hare Krishna mission, ISKCON, whatever, or philosophy, whatever. If you believe in humanity, let that be your religion. But follow that, have that as a set of principles guiding you. Don't be whimsical. Don't be a knee-jerk person. Don't be, I'm right. Subscribe to some philosophy.
Thank you. I'm an Isha follower, Isha, maybe that's why.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, I learned that. I learned that. I love the inner engineering conversations with which Sadhguru hosted last year. He was about, why do you get into business? Because you want to improve the environment around you. And how do you improve environment around you? By surrounding people, by changing the thoughts of people around you. And that's what we've been able to achieve as Metacube. Right.
Brilliant. And I want to share one more thing about Isha. Obviously, Sadhguru is driving force, but then look at this, the entire, more or less, Isha is run by volunteers, right? Yes. As volunteers, if there is so much commitment and we are so time bound to outcomes, how much more we can achieve? Absolutely. When there is revenue and profitability there.
Yeah. So you have to work in a missionary mode, right? As you say, missionaries, they went out in the gardens of gods, and they spent their whole lives. By the way, I went to Jesuit school, Society of Jesus. We had fathers who came from America and from Europe. They spent their whole lives with us in Jaipur. I went to St. Xavier's in Jaipur.
Yeah. I come from a very good convent background, so I understand the sacrifice. Even now, I think of all the nuns who were so strict with us and made us who we are.
See, I think, Anu, we should say that this was, this is an entrepreneur's journey. So, everything has come into it, spirituality, decision making, whatever I can tell. I've been very open and I've told everything, about that.
Thank you. I know we're opening it up to Q&A.
Sure.
And one of the questions that I had was, who were your angels when you were going through a low period was a question, but we'll take it later. We'll open it up to others.
Please.
Anybody, Saurav, are you going to help us?
So how will they ask questions there? Yes, Saurav will ask. Saurav, you're on mute. You can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. So there are a few questions on a Q&A window and
Sure.
as well as few on the chat. So just look at them.
Yeah, I can see. I see it now. Oh my! I'm going to start with. Is Vicky the first person or?
Yeah, Vicky. Yeah, there's a question from Vicky and.
From VK, do you want me to read or Saurav, you will read?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So basically the question here is to Parijat. So he's talking about the product demo with a prospect where he says that the prospect is very happy with the product demo, but and he finds it eventually very difficult to close the deal, being a smaller company and how to build that trust among the customer and how to get the conversion doing. So basically his question is how to how to convert those situation into the those leads into the conversion and all
I can address that. So first and foremost, Vicky, the one good thing about you is, to me, it seems that you have a product and not service. So this is great news, because if you have a product, then you possibly have very good stories to tell of successful customers, right? Use those stories. Big customers do not want to try something new, but they're still open to hearing about testimonials that you have, or even talking to people who have had experience with your product. So make them talk to your customers, existing customers. That is one. Second, I would say, big companies do have multiple stakeholders and decision makers. And, you probably don't even know who's deciding. So it's very important that you go out there. If this is a big sale for you, you go and meet them in person, meet all the decision makers and basically understand the lay of the land a bit better. So those are the 2 points, I think, which I would want to bring to you if you're going to work with a large company.
Yeah, very aptly said. So there is another question, he also mentioned that he's operating out of a small place called Amravati and he has to close the, Pune office during COVID and all that. So I have a follow-up question to that, sir. What branding strategy would you suggest to all those entrepreneurs who have started their journey from a smaller cities and how they would position themselves before their prospective clients? For maybe the Indian clients, the situation could be different, but for overseas clients, what strategy they would follow for their branding?
See, again, again, this is the same perennial question which we faced early on in our lives, that, why Jaipur, why not Bengaluru, why not Hyderabad? So you have to have some reasons why you went to Amravati, right? What are the values of Amravati? What is that drove you back to Amravati? And what is that you get special in Amravati? Is it lower cost? Is it better retention? Right? Is it, a culture of learning? What is that has taken you to Amravati, and how you can be a better delivery center than, let's say, somebody in Pune? Maybe in Pune, the attrition is too high because there are too many companies out there. So that is something that you need to bring out in your messaging. Why Amravati? Because that would be a question which people would have, because anything unknown, it's people's actual business, right? That they're entrusting you. So they need to be able to trust you. They need to be able to trust your thought process, your opinions, your decisions, and not just, okay, no, I'm in Amravati and I'll operate from here. There has to be something behind it.
Absolutely. So one question, sir, I'm very curious, hearing you out for last 55 minutes. So I'm very curious, one thing I would like to know, at one point you were Metacube was a like 100 people company, 200 people company. Then you started opening off your offices outside. So when you decided, at what point of your journey you decided that no, you have to be with your customer all the time. We need to go overseas, or we have to, be there where the business is. So when did you realize it? And how did you scale it up, your onshore presence? Yeah. So
that was the faux pas. Remember, I mentioned that we could have done it much sooner. So that was the thing which, we continued to be offshore. And this on-site thing happened 2017. So not that far back, actually 5 years ago, right? Which was, I think, too late. We should have done it a bit sooner. We should have done it a lot sooner.
But I want to interrupt and highlight something Parijat shared with me yesterday, which makes it even more commendable. They don't have any salesperson. They are the thought leaders that are driving.
Yeah. So that is again something that, we should invest in those capabilities. That is, we should be open to see, okay, that was a strength at some point can also become your weakness at another point. You look at a thing from a certain angle, it is your strength. On the other hand, it is your weakness. So you have to work on
more than weakness, it's a limiting factor, probably.
It's a limiting factor, probably, not a weakness. Yeah. Okay.
So can I ask my question, Saurabh, or is there anybody else?
No, I think there's some, let me see. But you can say
there are more things on chat window also, Saurabh, actually.
Yeah, the same.
Can you check on chat window? Because I think everybody is not asking on Q&A. Yeah?
So there is one question from Senthil. He wants to know, please tell how to pick and choose a wise VC to avoid startups falling into the cash crunch.
Can you repeat that question?
So the question is, Parijat, can you please tell how to pick or choose a wise venture capital fund to avoid startups falling into a cash crunch or the cash trap?
See, so I am the wrong person to answer this question because we are self-funded, fully privately managed and owned. But if you have to select, let's say if I were to select VCs, I would firstly, the VCs have to believe in you, right? And they have to be there for long run, up or down, they have to be with you, not the first person who gives you money, but as they use in VC circles, meaningful money. What else can they give you besides money? Do they believe in your vision? Can they give you advice? How do you navigate the whole thing? Can they get you some customers if possible, right? Can they get other people to look at you? Can they get you to new markets? So it is not just money, and money is available, right? But what about other things?
So yeah, Anu, you can have your rest of the
essentially
questions.
They're vouching for your credibility by showing faith in you. That's what the VCs do for us.
Exactly.
So again, I'm very interested.
Go ahead. We'll have only 3 minutes. We have to thank you as well, and sort of for all.
But this question, I don't know. I'm sure many people go through this. When we go through lows, you want to give up, and then you motivate yourself. That anyway happens because we motivated ourselves. We are back in the game. But tell me something about your angel.
No, I'll tell you. So like I said, Metacube is about 1,250 people. And I have about, I would say about 50 to 60 helper staff as well. Now, helper staff is which actually makes the operations run. So it could be the janitors, it could be the guards, and it could be whatever. So those guys, they are typically people who are very proud of what they do, right? They are getting X salary, but they have to ensure, their kids also go through education. So, anyway, so whenever I'm demotivated, I realize that, I have to take care of these people. We have to ensure that their kids are educated. We have to ensure that through education, their lives and future can change, right? So, and that basically motivates us. Doesn't matter. And Keshav also, similar, that, we basically care about people who are with us, and that is what keeps us going even in lows, right? And then there is no other way. Like there is a Japanese saying, right? I mentioned that to you other day, shikata ganai, there is no way but forward, basically. So you have to move on. That's it.
I think we were connected somewhere. You're some elder brother from some whatever zamana, because that is what motivates me too. I get up with the thing that, oh my God, these 5 families I need to feed. That's good enough, or whatever it is.
So this is a small town mentality for people who are in the audience, right? So this is where we are from.
I'm from Mysore, so I understand. Thank you for answering.
So that's a
Thank you.
powerful message to, round it off the discussion. And I would like to thank you, Parijat sir, for your, wonderful time and sharing your thoughts about your, entrepreneurial journey and, and your experiences with the audience. And thank you everyone who could make it to the session live. And nonetheless, we will also post the recordings of the session on our Slack channel, on our NASCOM YouTube channel that we have for the SME community. And thank you again, Anu, for being such a
Thank you
warm.
so much. Lovely host. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you everyone, and have a great weekend.
And happy holidays, Christmas, New Year, several things.
yeah.
And
Merry
Sankranti,
Christmas and happy holidays, guys.
And
Take care.
Sankranti too. Till then.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.